Wendy, and I have the honor today of hosting the show and interviewing the fitness king, Ron Henderson, on his newly released book, Mason's Backyard Workout. Now, before we get to talking about the book, we're going to get up close and personal with Ron and really find out why he does what he does. Now, Ron, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you grew up?
Oh, that's a huge one, actually. Talking about childhood, I grew up in Fridley. I was raised and actually born in St. Joseph, Missouri, but I grew up in Fridley. And people ask me, how I got started in fitness. And people ask you that question. I'm like, do you want the long answer or do you want the short answer? Okay, well, the long answer would be in a short way. I grew up in a very racist neighborhood, all right? And so I figured early on that I better be quick on my feet and I better know how to handle myself. So I would run literally everywhere. So my parents would go to the store and they'd stop at Bob's Produce and I would say, do you mind if I run home? And I literally would try to race my parents home. Literally. Folks at home, literally. Fitness game, that's right. I wasn't a fitness king then, but I literally would run home, jump over fences, because I thought it was important, Kevon, to be in really, really good shape. And then, of course, learning how to handle myself early on, because I thought, here's two things. If somebody jumps me, if I can't win the fight, I can certainly beat them, because I had such fast feet, I can run away. So that's really how I got my start, but I was raised in Fridley, and of course, I grew up watching Popeye the Sailor Man.
Okay.
And you would not realize, Javon, how many cans of spinach did I try to eat because I thought I was going to get the muscle. I mean, I'm 61, I got some muscle now, and I must say I do eat some kale, all right?
All right,
but
it worked a little bit.
It worked a little bit, yes. But when I was young, it was like Popeye the Sailor Man, and it was like picking up Popular Mechanics magazine, and you see the guy, and I was this little tiny guy, where they were kicking sand in the guy's face, and he was like, how would you like to have big muscles? And so I grew up seeing those kind of things and seeing Jack LaLanne doing exercises and stuff. But Fridley, Minnesota, that's where I was pretty much, I was raised there in a nutshell.
Awesome. Did you play any sports growing up?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be actually, like I said, fast. So I wrestled varsity, believe it or not, 98 pounds. I was in 9th grade in Fridley, and I wrestled varsity for the senior high at 98 pounds, by the way.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And at that time, I had, and I'm going to brag about it a little bit, folks. I'm going to brag about it. I had what the first recorded fastest pin is at 18 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm wrestling somebody who's a senior, and I was in, 9th grade at the time.
Oh, wow.
So I went out for wrestling. I also participated in track and field because my whole family really was into fitness from the standpoint of my mother doing masters events. My other sister was in Sports Illustrated several times. Rhonda,
wow.
Rhonda Dean, who is now the principal of Washburn High School, she ran track all the time. And so yes, I did. Wrestling and track.
Wow. So did all of those, your mom, your sister, is that what motivated you? Did they motivate you to exercise, or was it something you feel like you were born with from the beginning?
I don't think you're born with it. You know what I tell people is, I've always believed this, Javon, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. So when you grow up in an environment where you see your mother playing softball, you see her running, you see her leaping, she was doing the hurdles.
Oh, wow.
And she was doing masters event at 65 years of age. So I grew up seeing my mother playing basketball, like I said, baseball. She also fenced, so I started learning how to fence when I was very young. She also was one of Robert Fusarol's first students. He still does actually, Midwest Karate. It's a martial arts training school in Minneapolis, and I remember my mother training out of his basement.
Oh,
so
wow.
that environment was around me, and so and I know we're going to get into it later when you talk about my book, but that's why it's so pivotal that people get exercise and movement around their kids, because my parents didn't say, oh, you have to exercise, they didn't call it exercise. What I saw was my mother coming in with all this energy. That's what I saw, see. And folks at home, that's what you're looking at me now, you're saying, hey, he's in pretty good shape. Well, you know what? I'm in pretty good shape. I thank God for that. But it's really because I had those things instilled into my life early on.
Yeah, I think for me and everybody watching, you can see the importance today of role modeling these things to your kids, showing them that exercise is fun and it's not something that's dreadful. Playing sports and different things like that, getting your kids involved will really help them in the long run.
Right, and what I like to say too, Javon, is I don't even like to really call it exercise. In my book, I look at it as more as movement, okay? Now, and I actually brought these with me. I remember going to a school in North Minneapolis off of Glenwood Avenue, and I had so many stacks of letters from the kids. And here's one that says, "Have a great day," or "Have a great day." And then it says, first of all, she says, "What's up with you?" She said, "Thanks for being here to be our fitness teacher," by Tinetra Simpson, to the Fitness King. And I keep this stuff. This is 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I keep it because at one time I used to make it a habit to go to the elementary schools every week. And I tell people this, people laugh, but I stopped going because I love the kids. And I would take off from work, Javon, for a couple hours so I would lose pay. But then I would buy t-shirts to give away to the kids because I want them to really get involved in doing things that are going to benefit them, eating right and all those things.
Wow, it's amazing to see the Fitness King doing all these things. But for those of us who don't really know, what is your occupation?
I'm a personal trainer. That's what I do full time. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm also a licensed minister. And so I do a whole host of things, whether it's going to corporations, talking to people about fitness, whether it's going to church and preaching and teaching about the importance of everybody taking care of themselves. And then I'm also I'm an author. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought up speaking because I saw a clip of you the other day speaking to a packed house. What do you speak on?
At that place I was speaking, it's called the Pay Yourself First Principle, Javon. And really, the importance of looking at your day and figuring out, okay, you only got X amount of hours in a day. And first of all, everybody knows the one thing that you can't replace is time.
Right.
You can replace your money, you can replace your car, you can even replace your kids if you don't want. That's a joke. Okay. You gotta have fun. You don't want to, folks at home. Now, I didn't say you don't want to replace your kids. Love your kids, trust me. Love your kids. But the one thing that you can't replace is time. So I tell people to make sure that they pay themselves first. How do you do that? Recognizing how important is exercise, including it into your regimen. So don't make excuses on why you can't exercise. Put it into your time schedule. Make it a priority. Make it important. So pay yourself first principle. You look at and I use this as an example. When you pay yourself first, you're not only going to feel better, but you're going to look better. And Minnesota has these horrible winters a lot of times. And I use this as an analogy. The lights could go off, okay? And you're like, well, my God, the lights are off. I can't even see. But I have this place I got to be. I can't even see to get into the room because it's pitch black, right? But because you're in such good shape, and I love this analogy, you're able to walk in that closet and just grab anything with a smile on your face because you know anything is going to fit you. Because you don't have the highs and lows.
Oh, wow.
See, a lot of people are up and down in their diets, they're up and down in their lives, they're up and down in their mind.
Right.
All right? So they're scattered. You got to get focused. So when you get in great shape, which is what I teach, all right, people are able to focus more about what they want to do and they can head in the right direction.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you just released this children's book, Mason's Backyard Workout. Where is that available?
Amazon.com. Go to Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com, and it's just Mason's Backyard Workout. It's an easy title to remember. And my first son, by the way, was named Mason. So I promised him, I think it was when he's like 3 or 4, I said, I'm writing a book about you. And I got released, spiritually speaking, got released in my heart to finally put this book out there. It's part 1 of a 3-book series that I have.
Awesome. Now, have you always been interested in children's fitness?
I would say for a long time, yes, because when you look at childhood obesity, which is pivotal, I mean, one of the segments that I did on an earlier show was called Cracking the Code on Childhood Obesity. How do you do that? You get your kids thinking about exercise early on, and you don't really look at it as exercise, and you want to make sure that kids understand that it's fun, it's going to add life and possibly years to you. And so what I tell people, one thing you don't want to do, you never want to come in the house after a workout or after a long run and look like you're dead. Because kids are going to see that as, oh, I don't want any part of that. Dad looks horrible, Mom looks horrible. But I come in after jumping on like the trampoline, I got this smile on my face. I got this, kind of like this kick in my feet. And kids like, wow, Dad's having a good time with this. Of course I am. Because exercise, it gives you more energy and gives you more strength.
All right, that's awesome. Now, how often did you go to elementary schools?
I probably went at least once a week, yeah.
Once a week.
I've been to most schools in Minneapolis. help us here.
Okay. What motivated you to do that? How'd you get started on going to elementary schools?
Well, the motivation again is seeing, being in a store like, I'm not going to name stores particularly, but you go to any major store, and if you walk down the aisle, you hear a couple of kids or whatever, you might see an overweight parent walking by. And then you look again, you see another overweight parent walking by. So you got two overweight parents walking by. The next thing you're going to see, because they're in the kids department, is an overweight son or daughter walking by. I would see that time and time again. And it really bothered me because it's our faults, in my opinion, if your kids were overweight, if they're obese, unless it's something medically speaking, okay, it is our fault. So I would see parents like that, and it would really bother me. And I was like, you know what? Somebody needs to go to these schools and start talking about the importance of movement. Don't have to call it exercise, call it movement. So when you look at the Mason's Backyard Workout, what do I have on there? I have movement. I have all these different characters. Now the star is Mason, but I have Petey the puppy dog, Marty the monkey,
Yes.
Bobby the bear, okay? Ellen the eagle, Kay the kangaroo, so I keep it fun.
That's awesome. Well, on that note, we're going to take a break for public service announcements. We'll see you in a few. This interview with Ron Henderson, the Fitness King. Now, Ron, you've been on WGN a lot. What's that about? What do you talk about? And why do they like you so much?
Why do they like me? I don't know. Maybe because I'm good looking. I don't know. No, I'm certainly not good looking, but now my wife would probably want to argue that, but I don't think I'm good looking. You know what? I think WGN likes me for probably the same reason that the children like this book I came out with, because I have a lot of energy, because I say things that make sense, and when people listen to those things and then they take action, it changes their life. Well, WGN, I went on there one time. They asked me a lot of questions about health, and they loved my energy. And I said, this energy is only there because I take care of myself. And I think part of it too, Javon, is WGN out of Chicago, they have caught my passion. They know that I'm passionate about helping people. They know that I'm passionate about helping you folks at home, to get in better shape, because the only thing that we have really here, while we're living here on earth, okay, is our physical and spiritual health. And I tell people this, we're spirit people, but we're housed in a physical body. So we must take care of ourselves. And where do our kids learn what they're doing? Now, here's an example. There's a lot of stuff going on in Baltimore and different places right now. If you have good parents that are sowing the right things into these kids, they wouldn't be doing some of the things that they're doing, all right? But more importantly, parents have to lead by example. So if you tell your parents don't do X, Y, and Z, but you're doing X, Y, and Z, Houston, you have a problem. So you have to be a good example. So when I go on WGN, I talk about all this stuff. I remember one of the favorite things that they enjoyed that I mentioned was, I talked about not reading in the bathroom. Because I talked about people say they don't have time to work out, but they got a book in the bathroom, they spend an extra 5 minutes in the bathroom, that's workout time. Folks at home, that's workout time, okay? It is. People laugh about it, but it's really true. I tell people, take your books out of the bathroom, unless, of course, it's one of my books, folks, okay? But for the most part, I tell people, don't have books in your bathroom, because you will end up spending more time in there. That's necessary. You always have time to exercise, you just have to pursue it. So WGN, again, they love the fact that I motivate people, and I think they just love my sincerity.
That's awesome.
They know I care, yeah.
So you've written other books. What other books have you written?
Well, the very first book that I wrote was called What Is It Worth for You to Become Physically Fit? And it's interesting that you mentioned that too, by the way, Javon. When they interviewed me last week on WGN, they asked me to talk about that book. And I said, I don't want to talk about that book, folks. That's the first book I ever did. I don't want to talk about it. I don't like the book, okay? Now, by the way, I had a publisher, and I would never go with the publisher again. I learned a valuable lesson. Unless you have some big company. But, no, I don't like how the book was done. I didn't go with what I wanted. I allowed the publisher to decide what they wanted, and you know why, because they were paying for it. They paid for the book. They paid for every copy. They paid for exposure, everything. But that was, what is it worth to become physically fit? And you can still get the book, but I don't really promote it. The second book that I did was called Fitness Economics. Fitness Economics. And fitness economics, Devon, is for these people that think financially, but don't think physically, all right? These are people who are thinking about the later years, financially. They're thinking financially fiscal,
Okay.
but they're not thinking physically fiscal. So they're thinking about all the money that they're going to have in those bank accounts, okay? They're thinking about that lake home that they're going to have, okay? So they're going to be sitting at that lake home with the body that should look like it's sitting in a nursing home, all right? Because they haven't invested into their health. And people who make a lot of money, they tend to, that's what they're looking at. They're always looking at their money. So when you write a book where you draw the parallels between those seeking wealth versus health, I did it in such a way that it allows people to actually really fixate on it and get an understanding that they need to invest into their health.
Right.
The same way you do financially, you need to do that to your body. And then the third book that I wrote was Fitness and Faith, Balancing the Scales. And that was for the faith market, or the people that go to church every Sunday, or they don't go to church but they believe in God, but yet they're not taking care of what God has given them. See, so I have a calling to help everybody. Men, women, people of faith, people of finances, okay, and for kids. And the last book that I wrote, which actually is the very first book that I wanted to write, was Mason's Backyard Workout.
Yay!
Yes, and that book actually, by the way, that book was written, my son would have been, I guess, when he was 3 years of age.
Okay.
It was never published, it wasn't released in my spirit.
Oh, wow.
But my son is named Mason, and I remember him as a child sitting in like a little crib. I always brought him to work with me, sitting at the crib. And I have a nice picture of Mark Rosen, who's a WCCO sports anchor, holding my son like this, right? And so he spent a lot of hours in the gym, and the first time he was able to move and actually pick up a weight, he tried doing curls, right? And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna write a book about him, because the fact that he saw his dad doing those things, he wanted to do it. Because you remember I said earlier, like father, like son? Growing up, I would see girls, and like young girls with their mom, and they'd always have those easy bake ovens.
Right.
Why? Because mom's baking.
Yeah.
The girls want to bake.
Yeah.
Or they have like the dollhouse, and they have all those kind of things. Well, it's no different. Boys will have like tools. They want to be like their dad.
Right.
So you write these books because you want to inspire people, and you want the parents to have an understanding as well, but you also want the kids to follow suit and start taking care of themselves. So.
Awesome. So we're here with the fitness king, who's a motivational speaker, who's into fitness and has a passion for helping people. So it's easy to see his successes, but Ron, can you tell us about some problems, trials, and shortcomings that you've had?
Well, you're always going to have problems and trials. I mean, I remember when I had a slip and fall at a place in town, and I fell down. I hit my head, and within 2 weeks I was totally blind.
Oh, wow.
So I can't see anything out of my right eye at all.
Oh, wow.
I'm totally blind. And I remember this. It was probably 2 weeks later, after when I found out that I was legally blind and I could never see again. I remember walking around the hall down here to my office, and I was walking with this good posture, head up. Outwardly, inwardly, I was down. I was down, and I actually thought, I may not work out anymore. I was it kind of knocked me down a little bit mentally, and then all of a sudden, it was probably a day later, I realized that if you don't conquer this, it's going to conquer you. And I said at that point, I'm not going to allow this to affect my week. I'm not going to allow this to affect my day. I am blind, but guess what? Thank God I got one eye I can see out. Folks, so I can still see you at home right now. See, I'm watching you. I'm watching you with those chips. I'm watching you actually give your kids that ice cream that you shouldn't give them every day, that it should just be maybe their birthday and those kind of things, folks at home. See? And so that's when you talk about, I get excited about this, Javon, because when you talk about these books, the first one is Mason's Backyard Workout, but the second one deals with Mason deciding that he wants to eat differently and his experience in a grocery store, okay? And I bring all those favorite candies to life. They have eyes and they have mouths, and all the candies trying to draw him in. The soda pops are drawing him in. That's a real exciting book. That's one of those, kind of a Dr. Seuss style book with the rhyming. And the other book it talks about Mason standing up.
Okay.
Because, with all the stuff going on with bullying and everything like that, and Mason has this different look about himself, but he sticks up for people. But again, I'm really passionate about seeing our kids, all right, get in better shape. And I do want to crack the code on childhood obesity. It bothers me because the quality of the kid's life, we talked about setbacks, and I've said this before, I've shared it before. But I remember when I was in high school, I was called tomato head because my head was large, and there was an overweight woman that used to call me names because it took the pressure off of her. And that was really hard going through that, all right? And I didn't feel very good about myself when I was younger. And I noticed as I started getting in better shape, I started feeling better about myself. But folks at home with that, I also noticed that when I was young, I started getting a little kind of an attitude about it. So make sure if you're out there and you're going to think about starting an exercise program, stay humble. You know, don't get an ego about it, because it's just appreciating what God has given to you, taking care of what God has given to you, but don't let it go to your head. That's important.
Yeah, and I really, really appreciate what he said about conquering your dreams, or, you know, things will conquer you. Out of all the things you've accomplished, what would you say is your major and by far most successful thing that you've done?
Successful? You know, that's a good question. And the reason is because I measure success differently. Success for me is clients that have been with me for 17 years that came in with no body, and now they're 78 and they have a V shape, and their chest muscles, and they got the tricep muscles, and they have energy, and they're buying property, they're selling property. That's successful. So that's a hard question. When I went to Ethiopia, I led a crusade in 2007. When I say led it, I was the main speaker at the crusade. That was awesome. To go to a country that you've never been in and speak to 5,000 people. What else? Finishing this book. I always said this book would be done. I said it 20-some years ago. That's a success. The people that are in my life that I've had the opportunity, and I say the opportunity, I mean the opportunity and the pleasure to invest into their health. The people who've allowed me, you know, they pay me the money, they've allowed me, they trust me to invest into their health. That is success for me, okay? Those things are successful. I think I look at things a little differently than most people.
Okay. Well, the Fitness King has inspired some super readers that are here today, and they want to share their favorite part of Mason's backyard workout. So we'll be right back with our super readers. We are back at Motivation with our super readers. Now, Ron, can you tell us why parents should buy a copy of this book?
Well, you know, parents should buy a copy, and I probably would have to look at some of the responses I've had from Facebook. I had a lady send me a photo of her daughter sitting down actually reading the book. She said it's the first book that her daughter actually didn't just flip the pages. She flipped it, then stared at the page, okay? She said it really caught her attention. She was excited about it, and she actually felt everybody should buy the book. But I say parents should buy the book for their children because, you're getting your children to think about movement early on in their life, and that's the most impressionable time, as people know.
Awesome. Will there be more Mason the Mouse books?
Of course there will be. I have 2 other ones on the way. I'm waiting for the illustrator to finish them. So it's it's three book series. Yep.
Awesome. Now, what format is your book available in?
Right now you can get a hard copy, or what they call hard copy or whatever, or soft cover book at Amazon, or you can go on Kindle and order it on Kindle as well.
Awesome. So now you guys know where to order the book. So we have some special guests here. So we're going to go in line. They love the book. So why don't you guys tell your name, your age, and what you like best about the book?
My name is Precious, and I am 8 years old, and my favorite part of the book is a smile came to Mason's face as happy people had filled his face.
My name is Anthony, and I am 8 years old, and my favorite part of the book is when they were doing push-ups because they got stronger.
My name is Naya, and I'm 7 years old, and my favorite part of the book is when they were doing the alligator push-ups.
Hello, my name is Alchemist, and I'm 9 years old. My favorite part of the book is when the commercial shows to say how to keep your body strong.
That's awesome. So you guys get a special surprise. Ron, the Fitness King, is going to autograph your books today.
Yay!
And I'd love to do that. And I'll tell you what, listening to them talk and share their experiences, now you know why I used to love going to the elementary schools. I loved it. I remember the day, I can be very emotional because I remember the day that I left West Central Elementary School. I literally cried. I had probably 100 kids all waving to me, and what it did to their lives because it got them thinking about the importance of fitness. I don't want to see any kids walking around that don't feel good about themselves when we can do something about it. So the book is even priced so that everybody can buy it. Because when I was doing this book, people were talking about, well, you should sell the book for this. I said, no, I have a purpose. The purpose is to motivate people to start doing more with their kids, get them off the iPads, get them reading about movement, get them reading about exercise. And I want to fulfill that purpose, so that's why I priced the book at only $9.95, because I want every single children to be able to read this book and have the parents be able to get it. So important.
Well, we thank you guys for tuning in, and this concludes our episode of Motivation. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Handshake, give me a handshake. Come on, give me a handshake.
You gotta look him in the eye, too.
Look at that. Look at the
She's
camera.
like, I'm
Look at
looking
me.
at the
Look at me in
camera.
the camera. Look at me in the camera. Look at me in the camera. Sir. Okay, good.
Yeah.
How do you spell your name? How do you spell it?
Girl.